Hello everyone, I'm Kerry and welcome to my kitchen. It's the holiday season and I'm so excited that we're here today talking about some holiday things that we can do to entertain ourselves. The best thing about the holidays, in my opinion, is the chance to maybe make little gifts for other people. So try not to eat all these things yourself. That's what I usually do with the first batch anyway. But let's just see some of my favorites. So this chocolate chip shortbread recipe, which is what we're going to make today, was an old recipe that I got from my boss when I worked at Eaton's back in the 90s. She created this recipe and it actually ended up being printed in Chatelaine magazine in the early 2000s. It's that good. So these are very light, tender shortbread cookies, very crumbly, and they are balls. So we have to roll them all up and it's a little bit of work, but certainly my favorite cookie and my family's favorite cookie for the holidays. So one tip, this recipe takes cake and pastry flour instead of regular flour. And I always wondered what the difference was. And it turns out that cake and pastry flour has less protein in it. So it's better for things that don't need quite as much gluten in them, things that are more crumbly. So this shortbread is very crumbly, so we use cake and pastry flour. Another little tool that I really appreciate. See this? This is probably from the 2000s early as well. This is a little butter measurer, and I use this. You basically line it up on your butter stick, and then you can cut 1/2, 3/4, 1 cup, and it's so much easier than trying to measure it in a measuring cup. So if you don't have one of these little doohickeys, I highly recommend you put it on your Christmas list this year. So for the importance of time here today, I've already measured my butter. So basically the instructions are as follows. We need 3/4 of a cup of room temperature butter, and I've had that sitting out since this morning, and that's in this bowl here. And then we need 1 3/4 cups of the cake and pastry flour. And to that we need to add my favorite ingredient, some semi-sweet chocolate chips. We add a cup of those and we mix those around. Now, of course, I'll use my little teaspoon because I didn't bring a wooden spoon with me. We mix our chocolate chips and our cake and pastry flour so that all of the chocolate chips are coated. Then in our bowl, we beat our butter until it's smooth. That's pretty smooth. Then what we do is we gradually beat in the sugar. So for this recipe, we're going to use icing sugar. So we're going to beat our icing sugar into our softened butter. And this is 1/2 cup of icing sugar. So I'm just going to use, actually, I just reminded myself, good idea to tie the old hair back when you're cooking. So there we go. Now we're going to use 1/2 cup of icing sugar in our butter. Now my icing sugar's in there, I'm going to beat it all up so it's nice and smooth. Now that we've beat the sugar and the butter together for about 2 or 3 minutes, and it's like a beautiful yellow cloud of yumminess, now we have to add 2 teaspoons of cold water. So here's my teaspoons of cold water, 1 and 2. A nice teaspoon of vanilla. Can never have too much vanilla, but in this case, we just need a teaspoon. And then 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now I just kind of guesstimate here because I'm not wanting to drag out my 1/4 teaspoon, but there we go. Excellent. Now we have to beat that together again. So, oh, there goes my. Get as much of that sugar off of your little beater sticks as you can. And now we have the fun part of stirring in our flour and our chocolate chips. So we simply pour this goodness in. And now we just combine it with our wooden spoon. Well, with the magic of television, we managed to mix that together. It took us 2 or 3 minutes, and now we have this wonderful dough that we need to roll into little tiny balls. So we grab our prepared baking sheet. Now, I like to use parchment paper. Some people like to butter their cookie sheets. Some people like to use a spray. I just like parchment paper because it makes cleaning up so much easier. So you're going to take a little bit of your dough and you're just going to roll teeny little chocolate chip shortbread balls. Okay, everything's done. This is a great job if you have little elves at home. They can certainly help make these and make the time go a bit quicker. But let's pop them in the oven. They go into a 325 Fahrenheit oven for 15 to 20 minutes. Yum, this is my favorite part. Now, something you could do a little special with these chocolate chip shortbread cookies is you could melt a little bit of chocolate and dip half of the cookie into the melted chocolate and then let it dry. That's maybe if you're going to give them away for company. In this house, they never make it out the door for company, so I don't bother doing that, but they are delicious that way. You take it, blow on it, and pop it in your mouth. Yum. Thank you so much for joining me today in my kitchen.